Produced by Victoire. Victoire gives a special thanks to the EWF, Empire Wrestling Federation, and Mr. Jesse Hernandez, as well as SoCal Wrestling TV. Find the app on Roku. Hello, fans, and welcome back. It's been 2 weeks since you've had our partners in justice here at the Power and Glory podcast, but we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I am your co-host, the Master Amir, along with my co-host, WWE and WCW superstar, Mr. Paul Roma.
Wow, 2 weeks. It goes by like that.
Yep.
My goodness. You know what? And I was feeling a little, like I hadn't seen my family in so long.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to jump on here and talk about, life and what's going on and telling everybody to hit that subscribe button. That's right. As Amir would say, just mosey on over and hit that subscribe button. It's not that hard.
That's right.
Yeah. So, and Mr. Mancini, we know that he will be joining us a little late.
Yep.
But he will be joining us because I know he doesn't like to miss a show. That's for sure.
Here he is. In actual fact, when you said that, Paul, it's like psychic timing. There he is, ladies and gentlemen, our third co-host, co-star, Mr. Mario Mancini.
It's been just like Mario.
It's been a long day for Mario.
A long day. Yes. He's been running all over the state. I got to give him that, or driving all over the state.
Yeah, I actually bumped into Roma in the middle of it today. So I was coming from Manchester, Connecticut, where you don't know, maybe you know where Manchester, England is, but this was Manchester, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And all the way to the other end of the state. Plus, I had some real weird things happen today that I'll talk to Roma about later.
Okay.
Which he's going to be hot, man, because you just can't work a worker.
Okay.
So, yeah, he's not going to be happy about this one.
Wow.
He's going to want to know where these people are. So, it was a hell of a day. And by the time I got back to the office and anyway, did you guys talk about Triple H?
No, we have not. We have just started the show, Mario. We're just going through our announcements here. We're just going to remind everybody. And I have noticed, by the way, before we do begin, I noticed that a lot of our return viewers have not yet hit the subscribe button.
Why is that?
We've seen that in the analytics. So if you are watching this video and you have not powerplexed that subscribe button, make sure that you do and hit the likes. Last week, we spoke briefly about the algorithm. We're still a young channel and we need your help to get out there so we can spread this message much, much further. Also, another announcement before we begin. Across your screen right now, the public speaking engagements. That's the entire team here. That's Paul Roma, Mario Mancini, Rico Constantino, McCallion, and myself, the Master. We are available for public speaking engagements. If you're interested, get in contact with us. Use the email address in the description of the video. And the last announcement, the t-shirts, the Power and Glory, the podcast t-shirts. The originals are available for purchase. You can order them using the same email address. However, if you want to pick yours up in person, and if you want to meet the entire team, then make your way to Las Vegas, Nevada this April for WrestleCon during WrestleMania week. Okay, gentlemen, the announcements are out of the way. This episode is going to be explosive because in the 2 weeks we've had off, God has given us gift after gift. We made the announcement a few weeks ago that there's a potential opening of the door for Mr. Paul Roma, one of the greatest professional wrestling superstars to ever come down the pike, to be potentially put into the WWE Hall of Fame. Since then, gentlemen, we have seen that Triple H, Jean-Paul Levesque, as he was known in WCW and once again known again, is now in the Hall of Fame. Now, Mario, you did bring that up right out the gate. So what are your thoughts on Triple H going in the Hall of Fame?
What are my thoughts about Triple H going into the Hall of Fame? I am going to say right here on the Power and Glory podcast that probably no one's more deserving then Triple H to go into the Hall of Fame. More deserving than Hogan, more deserving than The Rock. Um, and I'm going to tell you why, because he was on both ends of the spectrum. So not only was he in the ring, but he was outside of the ring, and he wasn't just an agent, right? He had a pretty high position in production and running the business itself, still is running the business. So for someone to actually have a wrestling career, most of them just become agents, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, for them to have a wrestling career, but then go as high as he did and how high he is currently with the company is an amazing feat both ways. So, and he really does love the business. It's just like, I always separate the guys, I always separate the guys where you have guys that get into it because it's a business. Maybe they're a failed football player or something, or they just get into the business to get in there to make some money. Then you got the guys that really love the wrestling business. You know what I mean? So I think he genuinely really loves the wrestling business and cares about the company a lot and is proud of where he is currently and proud of what he did in the ring.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a good explanation right there. Paul, dare I ask your opinion on Triple H going into the Hall of Fame?
I'm going to be as sweet as I possibly can, pretty as I possibly can. Um, so while I concur with a lot of what Mr. Mancini has said about Triple H, um, there are also some, and I end up being one of his supporters amongst my students.
Mhm.
When I heard some of the things that he was smartening up the workers in the business, like how to save, invest your money
Mhm.
instead of just blowing it as you get it. And I thought that was great. I mean, that's real good. Um, he got himself in a position for we'll never know the truth, but was it purely and solely because of his ability of being a great wrestler, or was it because of the being able to write yourself into storyline,
Hmm. And
right?
you're referencing because his wife is Stephanie McMahon.
By the way, his wife is Stephanie McMahon. So it does, when you can take somebody, and we'll take Kelsey, Travis Kelsey of the Kansas City Chiefs. So here's a guy who he's a great player,
Mhm.
but they've brought him up here now because of who he's dating, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
All you hear about over and over and over again. To me, it takes away from, you know, his numbers.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, the notoriety is just incredible. Well, he was able to give himself that notoriety because of his position. So did his notoriety outweigh his skills, his ability?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Where does he rate as far as talent wise? I mean, people want to jump on me. I don't believe that I was great. I think I was damn good um, as far as wrestling ability.
Hmm.
I worked. I teamed up with, and again, Hercules was my choice. SD Jones was their choice. Paul Orndorff was their choice. The Young Stallions, Jimmy Powers, that was their choice.
Hmm.
So, I had great tag team partners. and they end up being, for lack of a better word, some teams were greater than others.
Hmm.
And I just don't understand. People say, "Oh, you belong in the Hall of Fame." Well, I appreciate you saying that. And then there's people that say you don't belong in the Hall of Fame, like Triple H, that
Well,
says that.
yeah, well, we're going to get into that. Now, that was an incident that was brought up. I guess that would have been around '06, '07 when that DVD was put out about the Four Horsemen. Of
Right.
course, we all know what Ric Flair is about these days. I'll
Well,
just
you should know, Amir. You
I,
called him.
I do know actually, Mario. That's why I'm gonna do one of those moments on every episode. Remember Jesse Ventura used to say hello to Terry and Tyrell at every WrestleMania? That was the ongoing gag between him and Gorilla Monsoon. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna mention Ric Flair on every episode moving forward. But yeah, that documentary that went out about the Horsemen. Now, for those of you who don't know, Paul Roma was a member of the Four Horsemen. His talent was to that degree. He was not just because they didn't have anybody else. His talent was to that degree that they decided that he should be that Four Horsemen member. Now, maybe they were trying to go in a direction to bring more youth, more somebody that fit the mold a lot better. Because I think Mario, you'll agree with this. Paul definitely played the role of the Horseman perfectly. Would you not agree?
I do agree to I agree with that so strongly that you know what they couldn't get away from the cowboy boot style spur slinging cowboy hat kind of theme of the quote unquote four horsemen.
Hmm.
And I thought Roma brought class to it that
Yeah.
they couldn't figure out, recognize, or give credit to. I That's what I think Roma brought to the Four Horsemen was some class.
Yeah, absolutely. You definitely brought a lot of that. I was going back to that documentary. I'm trying not to laugh right now, Paul, because in the documentary you said 97-year-old Rick. He was not 97, but we get the. Sorry, fans. I just the memory of
Listen,
hearing him say it.
when people don't understand, your time has come and gone.
Hmm.
Okay, whether it's Hogan, whether it's Flair, any of the wrestlers. Okay, your time has come and gone.
Hmm.
There's a time when you need to step away. You can't do what you used to do. You
Yeah.
don't look the way you used to look. Not to say that these guys had great bodies by any stretch of imagination, but there are people that do,
Yeah.
that had great bodies.
Yeah.
And, again, people say to me, "Oh, why don't you get back in the ring? Why don't you get back in the ring?" I'm like, my time is come and gone.
Hmm.
I have no intention of getting back in the ring.
Hmm.
If I did, I'd have to really get into the gym and start training my butt off
Yeah.
because, I want people to see what Paul Roma was what they would expect him to look like.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why at a certain point in your life, when you get out of wrestling, whether you walk away or you're told to get out, there's a reason for it
Hmm.
because you're just not that same person anymore. It has to do with
Yeah.
every sport, football, basketball, baseball, you name it.
Hmm.
The Olympics, you have to go, dude. It's just the
Well,
time.
Well, Paul, there's even the thing is sometimes they even take away people's driver's license when they get past a certain age and they won't insure them anymore. So it happens in all walks of life. There comes a point when it doesn't work anymore. But coming back to the Four Horsemen thing, because that's going to help us, with what we're talking about today, everybody, the Hall of Fame. So in that documentary at that time, Triple H did make a remark about you. I didn't think it was appropriate. I don't know what they were going for on that angle, just trying to be salacious, where he said, "Oh, Paul," he made a comment about your height, number one. And then he made a comment about you, the jobber guy, and he acted like you were nothing. Well, remind everybody, Paul, of everything you had done before you even became a horseman? All the tag teams you're involved with. Just quickly in a nutshell.
Okay. So SD Jones, Paul Roma, we owned Australia. We were the hottest tag team down there. Came back with the Young Stallions, Jimmy Powers and myself. We were climbing the ranks until Jimmy was propositioned by one of the higher ups in the
Pat
WWE.
Patterson. Pat
Pat Patterson.
Patterson
Okay.
wanted his winky.
Oh
He
wow.
wanted his winky.
Or how or what else, as Tony Atlas would say, Mario?
He tried to pull my pecker. Pat pulled my pecker.
Okay. So that being said, which is
Yeah.
very true, all right, then we moved on to Power and Glory, which was so successful, and they tried to nail us down, squash us every way they can. But because of our fan base, they were unable to do that. Then I went to WCW, and I was brought in as one of the Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
And after the Four Horsemen, I tagged up with Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, and we were pretty wonderful.
Yeah.
You can't take away all these great tag teams. Listen, you could say what you want. You could call me what you want. You're in a big position, and the WWE, if that's what makes you feel better about yourself, then have at it, and so be it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he has to remember one thing. I was told to help teach him when he was in WCW. It wasn't the other
Oh.
way around. So, that being said, okay, how do you feel now?
Paul, you know what? You just revealed something that maybe not a lot of people are aware of. So let me reiterate that to our audience. Paul Roma was told to help Triple H, Jean-Paul Levesque, when he first arrived in WCW. Now, Paul, how much time do you recall roughly how long you were working with Triple H when he first came in?
We would jump in tag team matches, and they told me to work with the guy, get him better,
Mhm.
blah 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 blah. Wasn't a long time, but
What's
again, it's funny how things like that slip people's minds,
mm-hmm.
you know. And once he sees this podcast, he's going to go, "Wow, yeah, hey, that's right,
But
that's
it's
right."
but it's interesting because you were now he does again to Mario, your point. I'm going to be kind of in the middle here because obviously, Mario did bring up the point, certain aspects of Triple H, like he is very crisp in the ring. He did get that. But then again, now I know he worked with you. There's your answer right there. I mean, he definitely has shades of the way you would work in the ring. You were very quick, very smooth. Everything was delivered to its fullest. Nothing was held back. So he does have good in-ring work. We'll say that. Um, you know, I don't know what happened, whether, the relationship with Stephanie happened in the summer of '99, because that's when Triple H turned it up, as it were. That's when he became the game. But because before that, I think Vince McMahon had a down on him because of the whole thing that he did with Triple H and Kevin Nash. I mean, with Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash in Madison Square Garden. You remember when they did that, guys, when they went
When
out,
they broke kayfabe.
they broke
Yeah.
kayfabe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Or it may
he
have been just the fact that he was dating his daughter.
already, you reckon, back in that time, you reckon he may have been dating her already?
Who knows? I mean, maybe he had his eye on her. I mean, he was with uh, what's her name? I forgive me for forgetting her name.
China.
The big girl, China. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, so who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So
Well,
yeah,
if he was, Stephanie would have been extremely young. Because how old is Stephanie now, Mario? Do you know roughly how old she is? She's younger than Triple H.
She's yeah, she's got to be in her early 40s, I would think.
So he's almost 56 now, Triple H.
Well, you got to think of this, right? You got to think of this logically.
Mhm.
Vince kept him around and Vince kept him in the office and Vince gave him a pretty big position,
Yeah.
which when Vince couldn't find the toilet bowl, he ended up in a bigger position, right? But when he was with Vince, he was in a pretty big position.
Hmm.
So he must have liked what he was doing because Vince screwed his own son.
Yeah, that's true.
Why wouldn't he screw Triple H? He screwed his own
Right.
son.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And especially since he actually wanted to do that to his daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
very,
mean, I mean, Vince did not, and this bothers me that he did not give the rite of passage that his father gave him.
mm-hmm.
He wouldn't give that rite of passage to his son, to Shane.
Yeah. It is a shame because Shane, I mean, wow, I mean, my gosh, look at how he was able to compete in the ring, what he was able to pull off as a wrestler. I mean, he
Yeah.
really, and he did play a good role in storylines. It's a
Yeah,
shame.
the kid risked his life for God's sakes.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
yeah.
Yeah.
He sure did. He
Did
sure
you
did.
guys, did you guys ever get the chance to meet Shane when he was a youngster?
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
How was he back then?
Quiet.
Just quiet?
Yeah. I mean, it was a kid in headlights being around all the wrestlers,
Hmm.
deer in headlights. He absolutely loved, at least that what he projected to us, power and glory.
Yeah. Well, I know he was
He
a
came
big,
up to us one day and said, "No matter what happens, you guys will always have a job with me." He said to Ray and myself.
wow.
And me and Ray walked away. We're like, "Wow, that was really, really cool." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kid
Yeah.
takes over. We got a job. Hey, that's great. I
Yeah.
mean, just thinking along those lines. I mean, we just threw it out there like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You know,
Mario said it best. It's pretty sad that he got screwed out of his. The Samoans take care of their own,
mhm,
Yeah,
right?
oh
They have
yeah.
their bloodline.
mhm.
Well, this is Vince's bloodline.
Yeah. It's a strange situation. But you know what, Paul, as we're talking about this and we're going towards the Hall of Fame, your situation reminds me so much of that of the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, thank God that you didn't have to go through any legal matters like him. They were trying to steal his identity, all the rights to his character. But, I remember WWE around the same time put out a DVD that trashed The Ultimate Warrior, made him look like an absolute joke. And they put this stigma, and it still exists to this day, gentlemen. I can't tell you how many things pop up on YouTube and online. The Warrior was this, he's a piece of trash. No, he was not a piece of trash. Okay. Again, if a man's I don't think he intentionally ever hurt anybody outside of the business. I know he wasn't a thief. I know he didn't end anybody's life. I know, and nothing of that nature. So, but he's been so demonized by so many people that they've convinced themselves now that he was this trash wrestler who never drew any money, which is total rubbish. But it's kind of like the way that they did the same with you, Paul, back in that documentary, to kind of create this illusion that Paul was not who he says he is, and that's what this episode is about. To redefine, to those who have been duped, who Paul Roma is. And again, there is a chance, maybe, that you will get that opportunity to be in the Hall of Fame. We said it a couple of weeks ago. Paul,
Well,
sorry, you
let
guys
me
say
let
something?
me let me throw something out there,
Yeah.
and I've thrown it out before on many a video,
Mhm.
and this is how I was. I got tough skin for the most part. Um, if somebody doesn't want to take the time to get to know who and what I am as a person, well, my whole saying was, well, I don't have time for that.
Mhm.
I'm not going to sell myself, try to sell myself to hundreds of thousands and millions of people. Either they believe what they see and what's coming out of my mouth and what they hear from people that they could trust,
Mhm.
or they don't.
Right.
That's on them.
Mhm.
You know, like Pete Rose, people have their opinion. Maybe he shouldn't have, maybe he should belong in the Hall of Fame. Maybe he shouldn't. Well, he was gambling. That's against the law. Yes, but he wasn't gambling against his team. He was
Mhm.
gambling for his team.
Mhm.
He wanted to win.
Mhm.
But because the powers to be decided that he wouldn't go in, now Mr. Rose is gone. Um, should he be in? My opinion, yes. Did he do something wrong? Well, gambling was illegal at the time. Okay. Even though for the most part they fixed games since the start of time for the most part.
Yeah.
Go back to shoeless Joe Jackson, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. So he rubbed somebody. Pete Rose rubbed somebody the wrong way,
Well,
and I believe that. And you know what else? I believe that I rubbed somebody the wrong way,
mhm.
and that somebody is Vince. That somebody is Triple H. That somebody is Eric Bischoff. That somebody is Ric Flair.
Mm.
It's a long list
Yeah.
and it's a distinguished list. But at the end of that list, you know what it says?
What?
It says Paul doesn't give a
Right. Okay. Right.
what they
Yeah.
think about me.
Yeah. It's
That's
it
what
is
it says.
it's a travesty. I'm hoping that common sense wins out. We are back in the age of common sense now, and I'm hoping that common sense wins out. To me, it seems like there was a conversation had. Mario, do you think a conversation was had? The reason why they did the powerplex, why he said power and glory on the air, does that to you look like there was an internal discussion, or was that on the fly? What do you reckon?
I think it was on the fly. That's why somebody panicked in the earpiece and said, "Shut up." We wouldn't let him finish.
Okay.
You know. So listen, it happens in a lot of aspects of life. I mean, Amir, you don't know what I'm talking about, but Roma knows fully what I'm talking about. And I apologize to the fans as they go, we don't know what you're talking about. Roma's the only one that knows what you're talking about. But it's same along the lines of what we're talking about, where I spoke to somebody the other day that is extremely influential in Connecticut. And we were talking about a situation, and he said they got they got felons going up there. And you know what? They're letting them through.
Hmm.
Felon.
Hmm.
Me?
Hmm.
Believe
Well,
that, Roma? Believe that, Roma. Felons they have going up there. And it's like, okay, well, we forgive you. Go ahead. Me?
Nothing.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, um, but listen, you know, I've said this for a very long time. I tell the new students, um, if you talk to Roma on his face, and I don't mean to his face, if you take him on his face,
Hmm.
just the surface of him,
Hmm.
and you walk away, you might go, "Hmm, hmm," which unfortunately he doesn't let a lot of people in. And unfortunately, people might have that impression of him walking away. Nobody knows unless you got close enough and you took the time to really know him. Then you go, I get it. I I get it. You know, if he looked at me and said, "Hey, cherry pie face," I'd be like, "Yeah, what's up?" Somebody else might go, "Hey, you call me cherry pie?" No, 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 no. You just don't understand Roma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so it's a shame. Again, though, I will go back to my original theory. Original theory. No matter, I'll say this about Triple H. No matter what he looked like, no matter how many hours he spent in the gym, no matter how much water he spit out of his mouth, he never looked like Roma.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
And you know what? Guys don't like that.
Hmm.
Guys don't. Again, let me go back to the first day in the dressing room.
Hmm.
Jake in Poughkeepsie, you know, with the cigarette hanging out of his mouth. glaring over at Roma. And Roma looked at me and said, "Who's that guy over there?" I said, "That's Jake the Snake Roberts." Why? He goes, "He's giving me that. Why is he looking at me like that?" I go, "Because he doesn't look like you.
Mm. Yeah.
That's why."
Yeah.
Although kudos to Jake, um, love Jake, he's got his own style. Jake is he's pro wrestling's um who was the
Come
guy
on,
in
kid, dig it
Roadhouse?
out.
What Sam he's pro
Oh,
wrestling Sam
Oh,
Elliott,
Sam
right?
Elliott. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's pro wrestling Sam Elliott, right? God bless Jake. But I think there's even a love-hate there because Roma will walk into a wrestling convention and Jake will be there and he'll go, "Hey Roma, how you doing?" And he'll go, "Oh, Jake, how are you?" I'm not going to put that up. I don't want YouTube to get angry. So, they don't have to say anything to each other, but that's what they do. You know what I mean? So, and,
Yeah.
and just like Beefcake and Valentine, when I looked at Valentine and said, "Why couldn't we be like this back in the 80s?" You know what I mean? And he said, "Listen, it was just a different time, Mario. It wasn't like that." I think as these guys get older, they definitely get a lot softer, except for Ric Flair.
Yeah. As I well know.
But
Yeah.
let's face
oh
it,
yeah, you found out firsthand.
Yeah, I
how
did.
much
Yeah.
how much older
Joe
can Ric
Rogan.
Flair? Well, yeah, how much older can Ric Flair get?
Well, he's going to get as old as the hands of time march him onward. But I just think I mean, kudos. Give him. I'll give him these props. I mean, the fact that he still is acting and talking as if he's 25. Hey, I mean, do I agree with the new attire, the way he dresses nowadays? Absolutely not. I mean, I don't think he's a hip hop artist. Um,
Where's the cirrhosis of the liver is what I want to know. Where's the cirrhosis of the liver?
I don't know. This guy seems to just keep coming back. You know what else survives? It can even survive a nuclear blast. I'm not going to say, but I'll let the audience figure it out. That's what I'm thinking. He can just
Can I
survive
say it?
anything. You,
Can
you,
I say
you
it?
yeah, you can if you want.
Okay, a cockroach.
Yeah, you got. So, I mean,
A
yeah, there you
cockroach.
go. There you
You
go. I
know.
mean, they
Hey,
survive.
I want to swing back to something Mario said,
Yeah,
so people get a better understanding of
yeah,
what Mario is saying about me.
yeah,
Um, this is the person that I am, and that I portray when people approach me. I see where they're coming from, what their attitude is, because in wrestling, when we were out on the road, people come up to you and say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And all nice and nice, and you go, "Sure," and then they hit you with something,
mhm,
and you give them an answer, and now they think the door's wide open, that they could ask you anything they want, and then it turns ugly.
yeah,
They start asking some really personal, none of their business questions. So when I'm out and about, when I meet people, fans or not, I am always on the guard. So when somebody starts to speak with me, I'm very protective of where it's going. I try to jump ahead of them to see where it's going so I can shut it down before it gets ugly, before anything happens.
mhm,
And one of the things is this: if somebody says something to me and they're very sincere, if I was to say to them, "Well, you know what? They tell me something's wrong with them or their family," and I say, "I'm going to say a prayer for you."
mhm.
That's sincere.
Yeah,
I'm not this person like these people that even write in, or you see them on Facebook and they're like, "Oh, prayers, prayers, prayers." Why? Because you could spell the word, so you threw it up there.
mhm,
But did you really get down that night? Did you really get down and pray and ask the good Lord to help that person?
mm,
I'll venture to guess that you didn't. And a
yeah,
lot of them don't.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know what? I'll put it to you the best way I can. I am real.
yeah,
And if you don't like real, if you can't handle real, then don't come up to me and don't try to speak to me and don't ask me any questions.
mhm,
And
yeah,
guess what? You just stay back and you think whatever you want to think. And I'm good with that because I am not here to make everybody in this world happy.
No.
and satisfy them and make them like me. I
Right.
can care less. I
And you
just
know,
got to worry about my family, my close friends, and the good Lord upstairs knowing that I'm true.
yeah, Mario, you're about to say something?
I'm taking over the podcast right now.
Okay.
So sit
Okay.
back, get your popcorn. I'm going to tell you one story.
All right.
And you know what? I'm saying one because there's a lot of them. So Roma gets a hold of me and he goes, let's go to the tables. I want to go to the casino. Let's go up north. I'm like, all right, Roma. So we go up to the Mohegan Sun. We got the whole tables going crazy right up there. Where he's screaming, talk to the Dice Mancini. I'm talking to we got a crowd around the table. Right? So before we start our antics, we're walking, Roma looks down. There's a wallet, a woman's wallet. He looks down, he picks it up, he unzips it. A lot of money in there. A lot of money. Roma looks at her license. He goes, look, it's her birthday today. How much does that suck, huh, Mancini? Zips it back up. We go walking to one of the offices there,
Mhm.
side office. He goes, listen, I need you to page this woman to get her. She dropped her wallet. The attendant goes, oh, give it to me and I'll page her and I'll make sure she gets it. Roma goes, no, I'm not giving it to you. He goes, well, you don't understand. That's protocol here for it. He goes, not giving it to you. So we stand there. I go, don't want to give it to him, Roma. He goes, she takes the money out, gives her wallet back, says it was cleaned out when they handed it off. He goes, no, I don't trust anybody. I'm like, okay. Roma. Man, they were
Yeah.
older couple. You never wanted to see people so happy. Oh my God, thank you so much. I thought, you know, and that's not only Roma doing the right thing or anything like that. And he's not looking for any accolades. As you can tell, I told this story, not him.
Yeah.
It's just walking with God.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Roma would, after she walked away, would, you know, kiss up to the sky
Hmm.
because thank God it was him
Yep.
and not somebody else.
Yep.
So, if that was Tony Altomar, no.
He'd
I,
have maxed out her credit cards.
I,
Yeah, he would have
I,
took the cash and maxed out her credit card. Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about that. I've often heard before, light always terrifies the dark. And sometimes, though, but we make this mistake. Sometimes people have been convinced that the dark is the light. So you could have somebody who's very jovial, very sweet, a people pleaser. They're friends with everybody. They say everything that makes everybody else happy, and you think that that's a good person. When in actual fact, that could be the biggest scumbag you've ever met. All right. Sometimes a good person may not outwardly, like you said, Mario. Sometimes if someone came up to Paul, very stoic, yeah, again, that's just the way he is, right? That's the way God made him. But they may get the wrong impression and think, oh man, that guy's, yeah, no, he's not, or the opposite side, you've got a bunch of phonies that are surrounding you. And when they see your truth, they're petrified by it. So they're going to do whatever they can to silence that truth. Like I said, it's so weird. As we talk about this, I'm making so many comparisons between you and Jim Hellwig, the Ultimate Warrior. It seems to me the same thing happened to him. He came out, again, great physique, the two of you. He may not have been the most technically sound, but he made the most technically sound character of the time. So, you can't disrespect that. But again, so many people try to squash him. But I want to circle back around about the Hall of Fame because that's what we said we were going to talk about.
But Amir, I just
Yep,
want to clear one thing though, because
yeah.
what you said kind of bothers me.
What was it? What is it, Mario? Tell me.
What if you're just a really good person and I mean genuinely a good person?
Yeah.
You just horny though. Does that make you a bad person?
No, Mario, because I think that's just your hormones. You're just very blessed to have good testosterone levels. That's all.
You
That's all
think
it
that
is.
doesn't make me a bad person though, right?
No, absolutely not. It's just hormones. It's you're healthy. That's what it is. You
Yeah,
should be happy about that, Mario.
It's gotten
yeah,
me in trouble though, Roma, though. No?
yeah. But this is not the show for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I
Sometimes,
digress. I digress.
That's
The
yeah,
whole thing.
that's our third show.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah,
Mario's third show. We're going to be doing a short on that pretty soon. Uh, but
It's
no.
funny you say short, Amir. Go ahead.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me get my train of thought back. Okay, Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame. So, Paul, you brought up a name, Pete Rose. Now, Chris Jericho, we saw a video was put out a short. Chris Jericho saying that he didn't care if he ever goes in the Hall of Fame. He could care less because he thinks it's an illegitimate event ceremony. Now, I may have not thought that, but in hindsight, after he said that, I thought of some of the names that are in the Hall of Fame that weren't even pro wrestlers, that barely made one or two appearances at the events, but yet guys like Paul, other gentlemen like that, have not been inducted. Has the British Bulldog gone in yet? The British Bulldogs is the Dynamite Kid in there?
Ooh, I
I
don't
don't
think so.
I don't know. But Amir, what
Hmm.
not only that, Amir, but you go to Cooperstown and you look through a glass and you go, wow, that's
Yeah,
Babe Ruth's jersey.
Yeah.
yeah,
And wow, those are Babe Ruth's cleats and his bat. Wow, look the way the baseball looked in 1922.
yeah.
Wow.
Look at his glove.
Yeah.
Look at yeah, look at the glove with just fingers. Wow,
Yeah,
how did they catch the baseball like that, right?
Mhm.
Don't you think it would be legitimate, not only legitimate or impressive for a 9-year-old kid to look through a pane of glass and see a 22-inch shoe and go, wow, that's Andre the Giant's boot. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's what's that. There's Dusty Rhodes's robe.
Yeah.
Wow. That's superstar Billy Graham's robe. Wow.
right.
They're missing
Hmm.
so much, but yet they had a show totally based on getting these objects that they
Yeah.
store in a warehouse.
Yeah.
And you have $1 billion company. You're trying to tell me they can't take $5 million and put up a building or
Hmm.
find an existing building and put some glass panes of glass up and put them in behind these things. And if that were the case, then it would be magnificent. I mean, imagine if they have something from Carl Gotch or something
Mm.
in between, Antonino Rocco,
Yeah.
guys like that. You get picture Arnold Skolin when he was wrestling. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Strongbow when he looked like Rick Martel, and at one time he did.
Yeah.
Jumping Joe Scarpa.
Hmm.
So
Vince
that's what.
McMahon, his oversized suits, all padded on the
Yeah,
shoulders.
Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Vince McMahon in his yellow canary, a picture of him, have it hanging up, and have a picture of him wearing it. Those yellow canary
Yep.
blazers. I mean, it would mean so much if they did this. It would put a different spin on it. That's why. That's why he's saying that.
Hmm.
Jericho is saying that, like, he's like, it's fake.
Hmm.
It's in their
Yeah,
head. It's the Hall of Fame is in their head.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know what I
Where
mean?
do you
And
where do you
without
go to see them? Right.
Yeah,
right, and
yeah.
without a building, it is in their head.
Well, one of the things when it first started back in, I think, 94, I think Jesse Ventura was ironically one of the first to go in. But no, it was 2004. I think Jesse went in. I'm not sure. But anyway, I thought it was going to be on the trajectory of merit. We hear a lot about merit-based society coming back, which will be on our other show, Hey Roma, our non-wrestling show. But merit-based, that's what I thought the Hall of Fame was going to be. And then we hit that turn. I think Snoop Dogg's in there. First of all, why is Snoop Dogg in the WWE Hall of Fame? For what purpose is there to have a rap singer who never wrestled a match, never was involved in a long form storyline? Didn't promote the company for years on end. I could have understood that if he was an ambassador or something. Nothing. But you put him in there. I don't even think Vince McMahon's in there. Vince is not in the Hall of Fame. He never put himself in there.
Listen. You talk about the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah.
The reason why Warrior had such a hard time is because he shot up so fast. And I want you to think how the wrestlers must feel about Snoop Dogg and all these other guys.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
they
Liberace.
Liberace, yeah. So Warrior got so much heat because they felt he shot up too fast without paying his dues. They felt that he wasn't in the business long enough to reap the rewards he was getting. He was getting them too fast. And and I've gotten those. Ray told me himself, when I was complaining to him, 5 years, he's 5 years. I starved for 7 years. I don't want to hear your BS, Mancini. 7, I starved.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These guys are big on that when they starve.
Yeah.
When they were on the road eating peanut butter and jelly, when Hogan and Eddie and Beefcake were living in the back of a van in 1979, they couldn't even afford to get a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? These guys are big on that. They're big
Yeah.
on paying your dues, and Warrior didn't pay his. And you know what? By these guys being in the Hall of Fame that are non-wrestlers, if we were able to do a show with 8 WWE wrestlers from back in the 80s and the 90s and ask them all if they had respect for that, they would all just go off on that. A
Yeah.
non-wrestler being in the Hall of Fame, it would just
Yeah.
go
I,
off on it.
I mean, I think it definitely delegitimized the Hall of Fame, what it could have been once they started doing that. And it does make sense. There have been a lot of other guys, like we said, like Paul, perfect technical wrestler, tag team specialist, in the golden era. Guys like Paul that, should have already been in the Hall of Fame. I'm just hopeful that maybe that situation that happened with the Warrior. But again, I think it actually was Triple H who was trying to get the Warrior in because Vince didn't want him in, from what I remember the story was. So hopefully, I mean, I'm just saying, I think we need to let everybody know we don't have any ill boding in terms of the professionalism of these characters. I know I poke fun at Ric Flair now, but at the end of the day, Ric Flair accomplished a great deal in this business. He means a lot to it, and I'm not going to take anything away from him professionally. I'm not going to say
Right.
he was trash or anything. Same with Triple H. The man has done wonders for the WWE. WWE
Yep.
is working better than it has in 25 years. So
Yep.
he's obviously doing something right. Again, maybe what he said when he was younger, Paul, about you, that was a much younger Triple H. That was 19, 20 years ago. I mean, the man's
Yeah. No, listen,
50.
I don't hold a grudge against him. I really
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
Like anything I say about anybody is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. If they can't handle the truth, don't listen to what I have to say because
Yeah.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
And going back to the Hall of Fame before we
Yeah.
close out,
Yeah.
again, the people, whether they deserve to be in or not, all right, and I'm only talking wrestlers,
Mhm.
they busted their butts. They're the ones who got in that ring and put their bodies in harm's way, not these celebrities like Snoop Dogg or Liberace or I mean, just I don't know, name them. There's a whole list. They never stop.
Yeah.
Mike
Yet
Tyson,
they,
Bob Uecker,
Bob
yeah,
Uecker.
Euchre.
Donald
And I
Trump.
don't get me wrong. I think Euchre is one of the funniest guys I ever met. Yeah, even Trump. I think he's one of the nicest guys I ever met. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, they don't belong there.
Mm,
They didn't contribute anything. They
right.
showed up one day, did a little gig. Oh, I'll even give Trump a little bit. At least he beat up on Vince. So,
Yeah.
there's
Shaved
a
his
little
head.
something there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you get these other guys, they didn't do anything. What was their contribution? Somebody went out and sung, so they
Hmm.
put him in the Hall of Fame. You
Yeah.
go out and you sing the national anthem, they put him in the Hall of Fame. Liberace plays the piano, he's in the Hall of Fame. The Wrestling Hall of Fame?
You
You
know
never
what?
wrestled a day in your life. You didn't manage anybody.
You know what, gentlemen? I will make this one point right here. I went to a an event last summer. I won't mention the name on here because, I thought the event was wonderful. It's a wonderful group. They do a lot of for the world of professional wrestling. But there was one individual got inducted, got an award for their group, a wrestling company. It was a TV actor from the 80s that's never been in a wrestling promotion or done it. And I remember sitting there with my wife thinking, why on earth is this individual getting a nominee, an award at a pro wrestling show? And we'd met him during the day. He had a booth, and I remember going over to him and saying, "Oh, hey, it's a pleasure to meet you. Do you know how much disrespect this individual had? I'll reveal him later down the line, ladies and gentlemen." So I go over to him, guys, and I said, "Oh, it's a pleasure. I used to watch that TV show." He goes, "Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh." And then he starts looking at his phone, researching his phone when he's supposed to be talking to people at the convention. And all of a sudden he goes, "Oh my gosh, Michael J. Fox passed away." It wasn't even true. It was a fake post or something. But what I
Yeah.
mean is the disrespect that you have people walking up to you. You can't even take 5 minutes out of your phone. But then again, I digress. He was not a wrestler. This individual was not a wrestler.
Are you
Yeah.
ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Pete Rose, William Perry, Bob Uecker, Drew Carey, Mike Tyson, Donald Trump, Mr. T, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Snoop Dogg, Kid Rock,
Wow.
William Shatner,
Wow.
Ozzy Osbourne,
What?
Andy Kaufman,
Yeah. The Jerry Lawler thing.
yeah, Muhammad Ali.
Hmm.
That's it.
Well, there's a few guys there, Paul. I think you'll agree that don't belong there at all.
Yeah. And listen, it has nothing, it's nothing against them.
No.
They didn't ask to be put into the Hall of Fame,
Right.
the Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It's a slap in every professional wrestler that ever traveled on the roads,
Hmm.
took all those flights, worked, 200 to 300 days a year.
Took all
And
those
these guys
bumps.
just took all the bumps and they just waltz in
Hmm.
and they stick them in the Hall of Fame. However, the upside, no Hall of Fame, physical Hall of Fame. So that in and of itself kind of protects them a little bit.
Hmm.
You don't want to walk in and have me, have my Hall of Fame in my wrestling gear, say Power and Glory wrestling gear, and next to me is Liberace. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
have,
Well,
I
yeah,
want to have
well,
Harley Race next to me or somebody. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey,
That
listen,
next to me.
people people could say Mario just because these people are living and breathing, they should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that. Oh, just because there's longevity, they're alive, they should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm not saying that either. But I think there is something to be said. Hey Roma, when did you break in? Did you break in before WrestleMania 1? Yes, I did. I did break in before WrestleMania 1. I did. Hey Mario, did you break in before WrestleMania? Yes, I did. I broke in 8 months before WrestleMania 1. You know, you, Jose Luis Rivera, was there in, I don't know, 1979, 1980. A guy like Jose Luis Rivera, a guy like Charlie Fulton, a guy like SD Jones, these guys, Barry Horowitz,
Hmm.
all these, even guys like Rusty Brooks, guys that were steadies, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Um, Tony DeVito, these guys were
Brian
steadies.
Costello.
Brian Costello, absolutely. You know,
Listen, though, I'm going to say this, um, and not because I'm in or I'm not in, not because I accomplished more, but because all those people, and there's more than that, that you named, were always there on TV each and every week, making us look good
Hmm.
to beat somebody, and you guys were somebody.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
still trying to figure
Nobody.
out how I didn't do a job for Power and Glory. I'm trying to figure that out. Can't figure that out.
No, but it's true.
We wanted to give you the powerplex off the top, but and Ray said, "Nah, let him go."
But you know what? I would have loved to get that because when he came down, I would have went, oh, stiff.
Could have been laughing. Yeah.
Oh Lord.
But no, seriously,
Oh,
you brought up a valid point, though. There's so many other departments that have been overlooked for the years, in place of just celebrities from other fields that come in, and it doesn't. It seems totally incomplete. Hopefully, this new Hall of Fame with Triple H being the first inductee into 2025. Maybe this will be a sign that things are going to move in a different direction with new leadership now. Again, I want to state to everybody that we do not mean to demean anybody at all. Every single person that we talked about today, from Triple H to Ric Flair, we respect them professionally for what they did. They, blood, sweat, and tears, they sacrificed time away from their families to entertain the fans. Whether there were disputes internally, whether they're, opposition to Paul or Mario, whoever it was. That aside, you can't take away the fact that men like Paul, like Mario, put their bodies and time, life on the line, their time away from their friends and family to be the very best version of themselves they could to entertain you. So, with that said, I hope that we see Paul Roma in the WWE Hall of Fame at some point very soon in the near future. I hope and pray that does occur. Gentlemen, quickly, before we wrap up today's show, we got the Royal Rumble coming up tomorrow, February 1st, which is a weird time to have the Royal Rumble. It's always notoriously been held at the end of January, but for some reason it's in February this year. Don't know why, but
Maybe
nonetheless.
because it falls on a Saturday. I don't know.
Well, usually they'd have the pay-per-views on Sundays, remember? I don't know why they changed to Saturdays now, too. It used to be always a Sunday.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. It's very odd. But nonetheless, Royal Rumble, it seems like we're turning the dial back. It seems reminiscent of the golden era again. They're building up multiple stars rather than just one, two, or three of them. Smorgasbord of talent. We know there's going to be some surprises, but out of the big ones we know so far, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, the Usos, these sorts of big names, Damian Priest. Who do you think's going to John Cena, actually. Let me not forget John
is
Cena.
this going to be on Netflix?
No, I think this is a Peacock event tomorrow. But Paul Logan or Logan Paul, one of the brothers, is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Although I don't think too highly of him anyway. But
Well,
nonetheless,
they'll put him in the hall. That's where they could get him in the Hall of Fame next.
oh, okay, yeah, okay, he'll be in the Hall of Fame next. No, I. But who do you think, gentlemen? Who do you think they'll push to the top this year?
Well, Cena.
Cena. Interesting. Mario, what do you think?
Um, I don't watch wrestling.
Go with Cena, kid. I'm a winner.
See the Magnificent Morocco? No. Uh, Jimmy Snuka. No, Cena maybe.
Cena.
I
Well,
don't see them bringing him back if they're not going to put him over. Listen, if you asked me who I thought should win,
mhm.
I would tell you Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
Looks the part, reminds me of a thinner Hercules.
Hmm.
Um, it's something about him. He just has that. He has that it factor.
Yeah.
Though they don't push him the way they should. They
Hmm.
don't really give him that star quality push.
Hmm.
I think they're making a big mistake, but again, they made a big mistake with Power and Glory, not
Yeah.
giving us the push.
Yeah.
And I think they're making a mistake with him. I hope he gets
Yeah.
his day.
Yeah, I agree with you. The consensus seems to be John Cena. I got nothing but respect for John, both personally and professionally. After Paul, you and I discussed what he does with kids, very admirable. I just think the same as you, Paul. Drew McIntyre is the star here. He is the star of WWE. Now, I got respect for Cody Rhodes. Some of the
Yeah,
not so much Seth Rollins. I really don't have any affinity for his character whatsoever. I never have. But
I've heard some very negative uh, information on him.
on Seth.
So, and I'm not going to disclose it
Okay.
because I don't know if it's true or not.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not that person, to
Yeah.
just, start that now.
Yeah.
So from what I've heard, kind of turns me off. Like I
Hmm.
said, is it true? I'm not there to know.
Yeah.
Is it reliable where I got it from? Yeah, pretty much.
Hmm.
But again, I'll just sit back, leave that opinion there. But yeah, I don't see how they could bring somebody. It's like bringing The Rock in. You're
Hmm.
going to bring The Rock in, and you're going to beat him. You're
Hmm.
bringing in, um, Cena,
Yeah.
and I don't see you beating him.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for this episode of Power and Glory, the episodic. Due to technical difficulties, this episode did end early, but we will continue the discussion next week. Make sure you powerplex that subscribe button, hit the likes, and share with your friends and family. This is Power and Glory.